If you're not aware, OpenAI released its brand new image generation model to its paid users, but now they've just released it to free users as well, which is great news because now you can use text prompts to create images such as these right here. I'll show you my own examples, which is pretty wicked too. I explored its image generation model quite thoroughly today, and what I can say is one of its standouts is character consistency. Because with other models, usually you generate an image, but out comes, variations that don't look consistently the same, especially when it comes to characters. So for example, on their website, they've generated this cat, but if you want to make modifications such as a cat with the detective hat and monocle, then it keeps that consistent character, but adds those modifications to it. And you can keep going on with the same character, no difference in terms of how it looks. And this makes a whole lot of sense rather than reprompting and making sure it's all consistent at the end of the day. In addition, OpenAI's image generation accurately outputs text. So you can see this generation here with a person writing on this whiteboard, but it's not like this text is all gibberish. You can see it actually makes sense. There may be some errors and some misspellings, but overall, it's not like all mushy or gibberish text. Now, let's head on to the main dashboard of ChatGPT and I'll show you how to use it and I'll show you some examples that I generated. All right, so here we go. Right here is where you can start prompting ChatGPT to generate whatever image you want. You can start by saying create or design, and then it'll automatically detect whether you want to actually design something with its image generation. Otherwise, if you want to 100% make sure that ChatGPT does use your prompt and convert it into an actual image, you want to go here where it says more options and click on create image. This will say create image, and then you write your prompt. Image generation specifically for free members is limited, and I tested this myself. And at the time of this recording, there's a limit of 5 image generations until you see this message where it says you've reached your image creation limit. So it's a daily limit. So come back the next day and then you can generate some more images. Now let's head on to some examples, and this first one here is a prompt to create this to-do list, but one that has some icons and a checkbox. So this is all the things that I prompted ChatGPT for, and I made sure that it added all these texts, and you can see that it's consistently and accurately outputted the correct thing that I kind of envisioned. So clean office, plan new video, record new video. So as you can see, there's no grammatical errors here, no misspellings of any sort. It's also added the checkboxes and the icons that are relevant to it. So pretty neat, pretty cool there. Also asked for it to create like a fun and colorful background, which it has done. You can see how you could potentially use this as your own design tool. Not exactly like Photoshop or Canva, but we'll get to more of the details, caveats, and its limitations later on. Here's an example that I prompted the image generation to produce. It's a 3D book cover with the title Yoga 101, and I've got a subtitle as well. And the colors should be bright and vibrant. And out came a really high quality book cover like this. I then prompted it to have the book standing up on the desk with the background of the home, making sure it's blurred, and take a look at this. And here's a flat lay version on a table, and I even prompted it to change the female to a male. And then I made an ad out of it with $9.95 with the buy now button. So if I ever wanted to use this to post on Facebook ads or whatnot, then I could very well use this. That's just one great use that I found with OpenAI's image generation. Here's one of a photo that I wanted it to produce of the Amalfi Coast at sunset, include a beach, people laying and playing, and make it a landscape orientation. And this is what it had produced. Overall, pretty good quality, except for the people. It's kind of like all mushy and legs and limbs are all over the place. So what I prompted it to do is, first of all, increase the exposure. So you can do really basic things like that. So increase the brightness, exposure, make it darker, those kinds of things. And then I also prompted it to improve the quality of the people so that they are more realistic. And this one here, I'll open it up. You can see that it's kind of put more faces on them. However, look at this leg right here. It doesn't quite make sense where it kind of joins with this lady. But with some additional text prompts, I'm sure you can get this somewhat right or as close as possible to what you envision. Here's one of a man writing on a whiteboard with the background of the Sydney Harbour Bridge and surroundings, and he's presenting to a board. And with some figures, I just prompted ChatGPT to kind of come up with the figures. You can see here Q1 results, revenue, profit, really simple. Got some board members here with the background of Sydney Harbour Bridge. I actually had to calculate this. Is this actually accurate? 9.5 million profit, 1.7 million, 18% margin. And it actually, this is my prompt, and then it actually worked it out pretty close to what it actually put on the image right here. Another idea of using the image generation, things like icons. So let's say you want to come up with some concepts for your icon, or even get them generated so that you can actually use them for your software, for your website, or whatever it may be. You can request it to do so, and you can see what it's produced based on my parameters, my criteria. I wanted something gradient, colorful looking and pastel-y looking, and that's what it's produced. Something similar is logo concepts. So I prompted it to create one for my personal brand, Photorealistic Gin. And here are some concepts here. I like this one right here. It looks quite personal. And scrolling down, I did request for more, and here's what it's come up with. Some are not so great, of course, but you just keep regenerating until you get the right one. And of course, refining it, maybe making it a bit more specific to your industry. Here's another example of a samurai, but this time I wanted a face attached to it. So here's what it produced with a face. And then I requested it to run towards the battlefield like this, but there's no motion there. So I prompted it to add a bit more motion. And here we go. We've got the man kind of with the mouth open and is really going crazy on the field. Another great use of the image generation is coming up with concepts for, let's say, your landing page, your website, or e-commerce store. Initially, I prompted the image generation to come up with a landing page for my online store selling courses and on the topics of productivity and self-improvement. Now, it didn't straight away come up with the actual design, but it's come up with the actual copy and the structure of it. But then after that, I did request it using the actual button here and create image to actually create that based on all of the details up above. And there we go. This is the result. One thing that I found that it can't really do is replicate people, and I can see why. It's part of their policy, and it's one thing that they are implementing as part of its protection and security. So I uploaded an image of myself. I wanted to make a YouTube thumbnail showing 5 AI tools, and then I named each of the tools right here. It did kind of do that. Not really the type of thumbnail I would post in this state. And you can see that is not me. It didn't replicate it accordingly. And that's fine. That's just a security issue. And of course, OpenAI does take it seriously. But you can request it to make it maybe a cartoon version. So I can request to turn it into a cartoon style and watch what will happen. And here's the result. And yes, while we're on this chat window, you can upload your own image as reference for ChatGPT image generation to then generate another version in a different style, for instance, or anything else that you want to do to it. As you know, with anything new, especially when it comes to AI, there will be some limitations and errors. With OpenAI's image generation, for instance, cropping will occur in some images that you generate, especially if it's meant to be something with a lot of data and that it's long. So if we refer back to my landing page design concept, it did cut off the top, the hero image that is, and also the bottom. Secondly, hallucinations can occur, so it's wise to fact check and make sure you're not 100% dependent on AI and image generation. Another limitation is high binding problems. So when you have more than 10 to 20 distinct concepts at once, it may not show accurately. And there's other things like precise graphing, multilingual text rendering, editing precision, dense information with small text. I did mention earlier on, if you're on a free plan, you can generate up to 5 images a day. Aside from that, the processing times are a little more delayed when it comes to free plans. You'll see on the pricing and plans page, response times are limited on bandwidth and availability. However, if you are on a pay plan, generations are typically faster. And at the time of recording, it takes about 90 seconds for one image to generate on the free plan, while on a paid plan, it takes about 30 seconds to 45 seconds based on my experience. Now, that response time will definitely get cut down as the technology progresses and gets better. Other than that, that is OpenAI's image generation in a nutshell. Have a play around with it, see what you can make, and let me know your thoughts on this new model. I'd love to know. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.